Thank you for joining us today on Positively Charged Biz. We are here to motivate, inspire, and support our listeners as they write their life stories. We are a proud founding member of the Real Disrupt Podcast Collaborative, and you can check out more awesome podcasts at realdisrupt.com. Hey everyone, I hope you are having a positive and productive day. On today's show, we have a woman who has made it her mission to spotlight women. I would like to introduce you all to Susan Rocco. She is the founder and host of Women to Watch Media, the premier global media platform and radio show for women leaders to share their life story. With a long-standing professional background in marketing, communication, sales, and advertising, and a lifelong dream to have her own talk show, Susan began to see the need for a standalone media platform to inspire and encourage more women to pursue leadership roles worldwide. Her goal is to bring attention to not only the successes, but also the challenges, doubts, and even failures faced on the board of women trying to make through their chosen career. Through each intimate interview and personal life story shared, Susan's primary mission remains to connect, educate, and encourage women in order to strengthen their self-esteem and help them find their calling in life. Susan is also a global growth board member of the Global Thinkers Forum and an active participant in the Athena Mentorship Program for young women. Susan, thank you so much for being with us today. And on the Positively Charged Biz podcast, we like to start at the beginning. So please share with us, what was that pivotal moment when you decided to take action and take this leap of faith to open up the Women to Watch Media?
Thank you, Laura. I love your first question because I say all the time, you can't tell anyone's story without starting at the beginning. But I'm not going to go to the very, very beginning. I'm going to tell you, excuse me, about my decision to start a radio show. And one of the reasons I love to share it is because it's a great example of it's never too late, ever, ever. I basically walked into a small privately owned radio station just outside of Philadelphia at the age of 48 with an idea for a show. And it came after I actually was on another talk show, a woman in the Philadelphia area who spotlighted small business owners in Philadelphia, asked me to come on and talk about my business. And at that time, I was working for a high-end apparel company out of New York, a direct sales company, after a long string of jobs, searching and looking and trying for years and years and years. And what I had always really wanted, my big pipe dream was to have a talk show. I'm absolutely fascinated by people and their life stories. And so that was 2012. And I knew that I wanted a show for and about women, but I wanted it to be inspirational, and I wanted it to be the type of show where the listener would kind of have one of those aha moments themselves, listening to the true life stories of women who have achieved a certain level of success, that would help them really step out and pursue their own dreams. And so I went from, pitching a program idea to the general manager of a very tiny station in it's called Norristown, to now being on 1210 Talk Radio in Philadelphia and WABC in New York, and having a full team of incredible women around me who bring incredible content to the show every week.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, a couple of things there to back up. So number one, all right, tell me about, you said that you always wanted to be a talk show host. Okay, where did that come from? When did that start? Where was it, you watched Oprah and you were like, wow, I find that fascinating and I want to do something like that. Tell me a little bit about where that first came from. You mentioned that you love hearing the stories of people, but where did that come from? And what was it that kind of said, I'm going to take action to make this happen? Because yes, you were working and, you know, going through different jobs, and you're at this point in your life when you're like, you know what, I want to do something else. There's always a reason. There's always something that happens. So tell us, what was that?
Yeah, another great question, Laura. So I will say, and I always share this very openly, you know, when I have an opportunity to tell my story, one of the things that's most important to me is that I'm doing that in a truthful way, because that's what I'm asking always of my guests. And, you know, as a little girl, a young girl, I had always been asking the big questions, you know, why are we here? And what is the meaning of life? But I really wasn't, you know, surrounded by people who had that same kind of questioning and philosophical thinking. And so I think, you know, the people closest to me kind of looked at me as maybe, you know, the little girl with the rose-colored glasses. And I would say perhaps not someone that's necessarily capable. Now, again, that's my perception. So
Right.
I always had that in my mind, you know, the chatter, which we all have, was that I really didn't believe in myself. I did not have incredible self-esteem. And frankly, I thought everyone else in the world was smarter than me, because what I was really interested in and what I believed and how I wanted to live my life was not the way others were. So I always questioned it and thought that
Okay.
there must be something wrong with me. So I spent, you know, those first 40 years working really, really hard on myself, reflecting, trying to find my voice, my belief, my self-esteem, because underneath all of the angst, I knew that I was here for a reason.
I
And
love that.
as we all are, right?
Yep.
Every single human. And I kept going back to that and connecting to that. It was like eating away at me almost.
Yep.
So, you know, I read books, and I just really wanted to kind of come out and find my voice and be exactly who I am. So I had one of those incredible awakenings.
There's always
Um,
something.
yeah. And I know exactly the day, the time. It was Tuesday morning, August 7th, 9 a.m. in 2012.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm at home, and I'm kind of talking myself and preparing myself for this meeting with this general manager at the radio station.
Okay.
And the word original came to me in a really, really powerful way. And it was almost as if someone was saying, you're an original human being,
You are.
one of a kind.
Yep.
And so if that is true, and we know it to be,
Yeah.
then you have something completely different to offer the world than anyone else.
That is right.
Right? So I decided that morning, I'm going out into the world as Sue Rocco. I'm not going to look around at what anyone else is doing and compare and question. And that truly was the beginning of just a belief in myself and my abilities. And then, you know, there were a lot of aha moments that have come since that day as well, from meeting different people, interviewing and reading more books. There's always things to learn, but that was a pivotal moment in my belief in myself.
I love that. And you said a lot of really good things in there. Okay. And the reason why I kind of kept gnawing a little bit is because I wanted you to get to that point, because I knew there had to be some moment in time that something shifted.
Yes.
And it's very interesting, especially you said a few things. Okay. Number one, you talked about being a little girl. And I've had this conversation so many times with ladies, because we all say that we've kind of all, we're brought up almost in a box, right? And we kind of had to fit into whatever that box was.
Correct.
But then we realize as we mature that, well, we don't fit into the box, right? Somehow we're pushing the top of the box and the side of the box away. Yeah. But sometimes it takes a long time to get there.
Yes.
And other times it doesn't. And I can tell you, I'm somebody that I run a women's mortgage group, the Women's Mortgage Network. And I am on a similar path of you that it is like my mission to teach it to the generation behind,
Mm-hmm.
because when you discover that, when that moment happens, it's almost magical.
It
And
is.
I want other women to get that earlier. Because just imagine what can be accomplished when all of a sudden you're not in the box
Yeah.
and and I know you're experiencing it. You're living it right now and you're watching other women live it. And once those limits are off and we are just showing our true superpowers as to why we were put on this earth, it's limitless, right?
Yeah.
So tell me, so you go in, what happens? I need to keep going in the story. I want to hear what's next.
Yeah. So, I went in and, first of all, I had an interview with the host of another show. So
Okay.
I think they saw that, my ability to be on the radio and speak articulate, being articulate. And the gentleman at the time said, Sue, I really think you have the ability to host a show. What are you thinking? And so I said, I want to bring women CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs, leaders of some type, some level, and have them talk about the real story behind their title.
Yeah.
Because I think, just as you and I are doing here today, this is a different type of interview than perhaps a lot of people in business are used to, talking about strategy and leadership skills and innovation, and all of that is
And that's great.
to learn, right?
Nothing wrong with that. That's right.
But my belief is if you haven't grown personally, your personal development hasn't taken you to that aha moment, you'll never reach your ultimate, potential. So, and here's the thing, in radio, it was a brokered show. So of course they want a new show because I'm paying. This is how naive I was about radio. I didn't have any experience or background. I just knew that I could interview someone. And so then they said, okay, well, here's what you owe us every week in production.
Get
And
out. I didn't know that either.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I thought you were going to pay me for the show. No. So then I had to figure out and really determine how I was going to sustain the show financially. It's all about.
Do you get sponsors? Like, is that how it works? So you can, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the only way to sustain a show.
Wow.
So, initially I reached out to people. I'm from the Philadelphia area. And so I have a wonderful, incredible network of friends and family. And I always joke that I called people up and I said, hey, I have a radio show. You have to advertise with me. I don't have any listeners yet. I don't know the name of the show, but you gotta advertise. And that's really how I started out. And then it has grown from there. And I'm going to tell you something. One of the most important things that I learned was that the more I did not listen to all the people who wanted to tell me how to do it.
Yeah.
This is the way you sell radio. This is how you do it. This is who you reach out to. Put your whiteboard up and make your goals and plan it all out. That's not how my brain works. I am absolutely not that person. I am always in the moment doing the next right thing. And so because of my, awakening, I was able to do that and listen to my own voice. And slowly but surely, the show began to build, gain traction. I went to WWDB, the next largest station in Philly. And then I went over to WPHT, one of the top talk stations in the country. And it was just persistence. It's loving what I do.
Yeah.
My research is one of my favorite things. I research every day, all day long, reading about women doing amazing things. And then I get to dig in and really prepare for that interview. I love that. The business side of it, that was tough, and it was just putting one foot in front of the other, getting people to know what the mission behind the show is. So my show is different from other talk shows, for sure. It's not a political talk show. It's not a financial talk show. It's all about inspiration. And so And the other thing, Laura, is it was very timely. 2012 was the year, a couple months after my show launched, Sheryl Sandberg came out with her book, Lean In.
Yes.
And there was this explosion of conversation around women's empowerment, right?
Yep.
And
Having a seat at the table.
have
Right.
all of that, but different, I would say, from the 70s when I was growing up and the feminist movement was different. I think
I
today
agree.
women are just stepping out and taking charge and starting their own businesses and companies, and it's so incredibly exciting.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, like, even, in my industry was very male dominated, of course. And I have watched in the last ours, it maybe wasn't in 12. It's a little more recent than that. But in the last couple of years, I have watched so many women take the leap of faith of opening their own mortgage companies, not having to work for other people, actually taking that entrepreneurial step and believing in themselves, and this network of support and this tribe that is saying, we know you're scared. We understand. We know it's challenging raising a family and running a business and being all of these super whatever you want to call yourself. We get it. But you got this.
Absolutely.
You
That's what
have
women
it.
do, right? Women, I think, were meant to be entrepreneurs
I
because
agree.
we manage everything and everyone so beautifully, and we care about the team, the people around us, right? We're not self-driven. It's, we talk a lot on the show about, I'll ask my guests, why do you believe the world needs more women leaders? And to me, it's very simple. For me, it always comes back to peace. I've had a desire for peace in the world, again, since I was a little girl. It's all about that sense of serenity. And to me, what we've always lost, or what's been missing in our society, is that balance of the male female.
Yeah.
So it's been all male driven, which we know is aggressive, competitive, ego centered, right? When women come in, there's this beautiful balance.
Yeah.
And that's when companies take off, or
Absolutely.
right, businesses, they thrive because of the gifts we bring that balance what men do right. So it never be about bashing men or, saying that, they're not doing it right. It's that we need a place.
But and that's such a valid point. And it's funny, I was just having this conversation about bringing in fresh talent. Okay, so younger generation, okay, bring in the recent college graduates. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
In our culture, we need to have diversity.
Yeah.
In our companies, you should have male, female, you should have different ethnicities, you should have different age groups, because when you bring that balance of all those different perspectives, you're going to flourish, because it only helps you. It makes you more well-rounded and more complete. So having that seat at the table, it doesn't just even stop with male and female. It's full diversification in all many different components. And that's when you truly thrive, when you have everyone.
More interesting. It's so much more exciting. I always say the person that is the least like me, I'm the most interested in getting to know.
Yes.
I mean, why? It's just so much more fun.
Exactly.
And exciting and interesting. But here's something else, when in the arena of, diversity and inclusion, which every company now has, head of diversity and inclusion, and there's initiatives, and we're all talking about it and pushing for it. It's also happening organically.
Yeah.
So I don't, I'm not one of those that we don't need to be angry or pounding the pavement or, saying this must happen. It's happening.
It is.
It's naturally happening. If you look at our kids' generation, they're all, dating each other from different cultures.
They accepted from day one. No one had to tell them. No one had to teach them. It was just natural. So you're correct. The generation behind us, the kids and younger than that, they're saying, what's wrong with the rest of you? We already knew that.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Now, Susan, one of the things that you mentioned, which I really, really commend you for, a lot of times when you are interviewing people that have had that pivotal moment and then they had success, a lot of times it is difficult for people to connect if they don't hear the journey. You mentioned that it's not just, oh, let me hear about your accolades
Yeah,
after everything happened.
right.
You want to know all of the journey of what occurred, because we all know no one goes from point A to point B without having those blips and ups and downs and things that happen.
Of course, yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that, and how has that worked with, your guests that you're interviewing?
Well, to me, it's always what I'm most interested in. I want to know, where did you grow up? What kind of, and this is always, I always do an introductory call with my guests because I want to be sure that they're open to,
Right.
telling the truth, right? Tell me about your mom and dad. What was their messaging to you as a young girl? What kind of environment did you grow up in?
Oh, wow.
But, when you said at the beginning of the show about the box, that's not just girls. That is society in general. This is something that's always fascinating to me. If you look at, how we've evolved as a society and since the beginning of time, everything is manufactured and everything is put in groups. And it's all about, this is how you're supposed to live. My latest question is, who decided that we're supposed to work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5? Who said that? And why do we all
Westinghouse. Westinghouse came up with that,
Is that
because
right?
before that, we used to actually work 6 days a week and longer.
Oh, gee.
Mr. Westinghouse actually shortened it to Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
Okay. The whole premise is silly. If you do what works for you,
I agree.
and this idea of groupthink, to me, goes against everything that is in nature.
That's
It goes
right.
against everything that will actually allow someone to have the most fulfilling, free, prosperous, and successful life.
That's
Is
right.
society saying this is how you do it? No, you look inside and you say, what feels good to me? What works for me? Because we all have an incredibly different kind of biorhythm. We all think differently. We learn differently. When I think about myself as a kid in school, oh my God, I had so much angst because I'm a very, very visual learner. So to be in a classroom, of course, we're all lined up, and the teacher's talking at us and telling us things, and it's going, shh, shh, right, in one ear, out the other. If you show me something, visually, or here's an example, or tell a story,
Right.
that's how I learn. So imagine, and I know a lot of little kids are like that. And so this whole idea of one size fits all, to me, is one of the greatest failures of society and how we think things are supposed to be done. So, when I'm doing that interview, I'm looking for that one thing that sets that woman apart from the rest.
Sure.
And I think that's the moment someone hears something, and not only are they inspired, but it's sustainable. So they're not inspired for a minute and then they go back to the drudgery
Right.
of their life. I want them to say, today's the day. Today's
Right.
the day.
That pivotal moment.
Right. I changed what I'm doing. I asked for that raise. I start that business. I kick that person out of my life that's the
Yeah.
big negative, weight on me, whatever it is.
Right. What do you think holds women back from pursuing leadership roles?
Belief. It's all a lack of belief. 100% a lack of belief. People who do research on this, and now we have all kinds of statistics about why, number one, more women on boards and in C-suites increases the bottom line. These are great studies because the men are kind of paying attention now.
Right.
So the men who run these are, oh wow, so we can increase our revenue if we have more women in leadership. But I think historically men have been running things, and that's thousands and thousands and
Yeah.
thousands of years. So it's going to take a long time to change that mindset. And for women, I think that, again, the messaging, that's why here's something fascinating. I cannot tell you how many times when I'm talking to a guest and we're talking about her childhood, and this is a woman who really had an abundance of confidence early on.
Okay.
She didn't struggle. I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, she had a father who said, you can do anything you want in this world. I believe in you. That's, that's fascinating to me.
That's interesting.
I think, typically our moms or girlfriends, they're always our cheerleaders. They're supposed to cheer us on and lift us up. But when you hear from a father, you can be and do anything you want in this world, it gives you a different kind of confidence. So it's just another little fascinating anecdote that I've noticed. It's a commonality among the women who had a lot of confidence when they were younger. Because I'm always curious, why did it take me 48 years?
Right.
I meet young girls today. They're unbelievable.
Oh, they are. Aren't they? They're just rock stars, aren't they?
Rock stars. It's fantastic. And I hope that it's because of resources like what we're doing, like my show, like the enormous amounts of organizations that are working to empower young girls. Yes. But there are no glass ceilings anymore.
I agree.
The only thing holding someone back is their own lack of belief, and you need to make the ask. You just take it. Right?
It's there for you. And it's so interesting, there was recently a show on, I think, FX, and it was actually a whole series about the ERA. I don't know if you happen to see this. And I have to tell you, it was fascinating, and it was actually like pretty accurate, right? And here I am thinking to myself, obviously we know what the ERA is, and we know women's rights in the early 70s and all that. And we understand that, we knew that. But when I think to myself that we were kind of part of that first generation of adult women coming out of that.
Yeah.
Like, when I think about what an honor and what privilege we had to be that generation. And now, like you just said, now you're looking at the generation, our kids and beyond that, and you're going, wow, this is impressive but there's still work to be done. Like what you just said, that belief and what about the power of communication? I noticed that women still struggle sometimes with using their voice and how to share that and have that. And I know some of it is confidence and belief, but what do you recommend to assist with that? What have you seen works to guide that?
You mean to help women, not be afraid to speak up and say what they believe? Again, I can only speak from experience, my own. It's more of an understanding. So you cannot tell another woman to believe in herself. You can't say to anyone, you are an original, you're unique, you're special, believe in yourself. You cannot do that. It has to come from the individual. So there needs to be a desire for it. And what I think sometimes happens for women, because we are, I would say, natural born peacemakers and natural born caretakers, and we're managing so much, they're lost in the day-to-day, the noise, the to-do lists, the I have to, I should, it's my obligation. All of that, I believe, again, is a false narrative, because when you let go of that burden of feeling I need to take care of the whole world around me, when you let go of that and you reach that I mean, deep in your bones understanding that you're here for a reason and it's different than anyone else's. When you take ownership of that, it automatically changes the lives of everyone around you.
Very true.
right? So you
Yes.
don't have to tell someone else how to do it. You just literally lead by example. You just lead by example, and people start to notice. And people that are in your lives, you are so much better suited to care for them, or be there to listen when they need advice. I find it's a lot more effective. People will say, what is your superpower? For me, it really is listening. I'm an incredible
And
listener.
that's a very important and valuable superpower.
Yes, there's a lot of talking going on without anything behind it. And so if we want to help women around us, I think the best thing we can do is really listen and then encourage them to reflect, right? So that they come to this understanding on their own, because that is when it will
Yeah,
stay fixed with them.
I agree.
Yeah.
So, what is your ultimate mission? Is it to give people that, be able to connect with different stories so that it can inspire them and have that connection, right? Because not everyone's going to connect with everyone, right? Everyone has certain people that it will resonate. It'll say, oh, that's very similar, or I felt that way, or I grew up that way, or I'm on that path. So is that your mission, or is there a bigger mission beyond that you're working towards?
Well, that's another great question, because I'd love to talk, aside from the personal growth element and the inspiration behind Women to Watch, I also have a very big, bold vision for the company.
Okay, tell us.
I'd love to tell you about that. So we have what I call our watch team of on-air contributors. And these are all women who are in leadership positions within their companies. Comcast, NBC, Universal, Ballard Spahr Law Firm. We have our first global sponsor in Publicis Health. We have Fortis Wealth Management. We have Jefferson University Health System. We have the United Way.
Cool.
All of these are sponsors of the show. And the women who are in leadership there have a 2-minute segment on the show every week to talk and bring news and information and inspiration in their fields of technology and health and marketing and business, nonprofit with the United Way. So as we move into new markets, we have a team in Philly, we're building our team in New York, we're negotiating contracts with radio stations on the West Coast. I would like to have a unique watch team of on-air contributors in every market.
That's
and
great.
What that is going to do is give women who are already in positions of leadership the opportunity to be talking directly to thousands of listeners on a consistent weekly basis. So we're building a woman-owned, woman-run, for women media company.
Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. Look at that. See? I love it, Susan. You're inspiring all of us. I love that you have your path, and not only, of course, you're doing your inspiration and sharing a wealth of knowledge, and out there you're working towards a bigger mission for the future. So that is wonderful.
Here's the other lesson. I think it's okay to want to grow financially.
Yeah.
It's okay to want to take a business, right?
Don't get me started on this one, Susan.
I know that's
because this is a big one with me.
I'm sure.
You actually do not have to apologize for wanting to have a successful business or to even financially be successful.
Correct.
You don't have to apologize for that. That is okay. And that is a big thing with women, that people think that if you strive for that as part of your goal, that's a negative. It is not.
It is not. Because guess what that will do? Allow you to do more.
That's exactly right.
Your mission-driven goals. Prosperity, financial wealth, is what will allow you. We live on a planet where, you can't buy that apple without $1. So be proud.
That's right.
The more you grow financially, because then you have the freedom to do more on that personal mission that you have.
100%. Perfect. All right, Susan, this has been awesome. I loved it, loved it, loved it. Thank you so much. Please tell us, how do we watch? How do we listen? How do we connect? How do we learn more?
Yes. Well, first of all, the website is the most important because you can listen live from our website. We have a podcast there. We have international contributors, and it's womentowatch.net. So it's women, the number 2, watch.net, NET. The show airs, if you're in the Philadelphia tri-state area, every Sunday night from 7 to 8 on WPHT, which is 12:10 a.m. However, I'll make an announcement. We're moving to a 2-hour show. Yeah, October 4th will be 6 to 8. And then in New York and the metropolitan area up there, we are on WABC Saturday nights 10 to 11. Looking to move earlier, but that's where we're airing right now. So everything is at womentowatch.net. And I love hearing from our listeners. So feel free to email me, susan@womentowatch.net, NET. I get amazing referrals and always looking for new partners for our watch team.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
Susan, this has been wonderful. Thank you for everything that you're doing. Please continue on this mission, and we wish you nothing but the ultimate success and fulfillment to everything that you do.
Thank you, Laura. I appreciate the opportunity.
Of
Thanks.
course. Take care.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Positively Charged Biz. I'm Laura Brandeo, and we are here to motivate, inspire, and support our listeners as they write their life stories. If you have an inspiring story, please email me at laura@positivelycharged.biz. And remember to subscribe to hear more great guests. And connect to us on Facebook at Positively Charged and Instagram at Positively Charged Podcast. Until next time, we wish you a positive day.